So welcome, Penelope, to one of our Momentum interview sessions. Penelope Barr, thanks so much for taking the time out of your busy agenda.
You're welcome. Yeah, happy to be here.
Excellent. So with regard to this one today, Penelope, the topic which we're going to cover is how to build a portfolio career. And before that, just for the people who are watching this video or listening to the video, I'll give a short introduction to you. So we've obviously known each other for quite some time now. I would describe you as a transformation executive who is a keen innovator and has excelled both locally and globally in data, product, innovation, technology, digital, change, transformation. To be honest with you, the list goes on. I hope I've described you correctly.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's all of those reasons, all of those titles are pretty much the reason I started a portfolio career.
Okay, no, that's really good. And we'll get into that topic in a moment then. So we are going to discuss the innovation side of your profile, which we talk about your portfolio career and how you help others to do this. So I have 3 questions for you today, if you don't mind.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. So first question is, what is a portfolio career and why should somebody want one?
So, when you start to manage money and you might go and see a financial investment expert and they'll talk to you about potentially diversifying your funds so that you can mitigate risk and optimize opportunity. Well, that's pretty similar with a portfolio career. Yeah. So lots of us have lots of different interests, lots of passions, lots of skills. And as you just outlined in my introduction, I've done many things. And as you know, over long careers, people do. Yeah. And when you're working in corporate environments, you're always at the behest of somebody else. So you may be very happy in an organization and very happy in your role. And then suddenly one day you come in and you're told there's a restructure. And there's oftentimes there's not really much you can do. It's a numbers game. Yeah. And so that's one of the things that, a portfolio career helps you to do. It helps you to mitigate risk of just having, an income from one career, one organization. Yeah. So really what a portfolio career helps you do is optimize and increase and diversify the number of income streams you have. So that may look like different jobs. It may look like in a side hustle. It may look like creating assets that you can optimize or purchase, etc. But it's really looking at, you as the kind of CEO of your life and the total sum of all of your skills, interests and passions and being able to put those together. And for me, put them together in a cohesive way. For some people, it's actually pursuing each of those opportunities completely separately. And each of those opportunities is a portfolio career. Okay.
Now, I do have a question now, which is not part of the 3 questions. I said to you that this might happen. So I often see, especially with executives, challenging roles, very high pressure. They give a lot of themselves personally to these roles. And then, as you mentioned, the restructure eventually arrives. Do you think that sometimes people can get, into that, I use the expression trap of putting all their energy into the organization and not necessarily always putting themselves first in terms of what else is out there for them, in terms of, both personal life and a potential portfolio career? Can that happen to people?
Absolutely. I mean, it definitely happened to me. I was working, I've always worked sort of 12 to 14 to 16 hours a day, thinking I'm doing a brilliant job, until one day I had a coach who said, yeah, of course you're doing a brilliant job because you're basically halving your salary and you're working double the time. And I was like, and I genuinely never thought about it like that. I mean, I think, I'm not here to judge anyone. If how you want to live is working really hard in one thing only, and then you'll think about what's next, that's fine. But for a lot of us, and, I run a job search network as well. Yeah. And one of the things that is happening at the moment, especially, is that for a lot of people, they're for the first time having to think about what's next and what kind of job they might do next. And because they've been one thing for a long time, their identity is very bound up with an organization and with a role. And, one of the reasons I love traveling so much, for example, is it just reminds you that the world and opportunities are so big and bounteous. And I think sometimes we talk about organizations as, institutions, and you can become institutionalized.
Yeah.
So you're you get very myopic about one opportunity, which can be great. It can be very rewarding to do so, but that comes at the expense of other things. And that might be a better personal life, or it might be just time for yourself, or it might be anything that you want to do. It's just that, the bleed between the organization's time and your time and energy gets quite murky sometimes. And so me, when I think about the great career I've had, I've really enjoyed it, but I do wish that I had put a bit more of energy and time into some of the things that I've enjoyed, because I did miss out on doing anything. But what it meant was I actually got less sleep. So
Yeah. Okay. As we discussed earlier, sleep is very important. Okay, fantastic. So I will move on to question 2 now.
Sure.
So let's say somebody's interested in starting a portfolio career. How do they start a portfolio career, and what should they look out for?
Yeah. So, the starting point for starting a portfolio career is really to start. So if you're employed in a career, one role in an organization at the moment, and you're thinking, next year, 5 years, 10 years, you'd like to be doing something different, the opportunity is there for you to start creating that connection with the new direction. Or it might be the same knowledge area that you're working in, but you might be delivering it in a different way.
Yeah.
And so really what you're trying to do is, it might be that you start some kind of side hustle, so you can start experimenting with how you might shape your ideas in a different way, or you might start experimenting with something completely different. Or if you're working in a job where you're saying, I just don't like this, but because of financial reasons, you can't just say, I'm going to leave. That's also a really good prompt for thinking about something else. So that's where you might start spending a little bit of time, trying to carve back a little bit of time in your day to think through, well, if I wasn't doing this, what could I do? The question that gets really hard, I think sometimes people say, well, if you had all the time in the world and there were no impediments, what would you love to do? That's actually an incredibly hard question to ask. And a lot of people think they're being very helpful in asking you that. But it's really a combination of, what are you good at? What are you naturally drawn to? Where do you kind of lose time, in terms of flow? What are your passions? What does the world need? What can you get paid for? It's a bigger question than that just following your passion, because you could be incredibly excited and interested in something that's completely minuscule, and if it can't find a match in the world, and you can't get paid for it, it's a hobby. It's not something that's going to sustain you from a passion and an economic point of view. So you're really looking for one of the exercises I work through is there value in your idea, in the people that you're trying to help. So we kind of think about the holistic view of what you're trying to do.
Okay, that's really interesting, really very interesting. So that moves us to the final question. So in your experience, what is it that makes someone successful when they're pursuing a portfolio career?
So I think, the interesting thing about success, especially when you start thinking from a portfolio perspective, is what's your definition of success?
Yeah.
So as I mentioned, in my corporate career, I thought I was doing a brilliant job, but that came at a very high cost in terms of my time, my energy, and, time with my family, et cetera, et cetera. So I was missing out on a range of things, but equally, it was serving me at the time.
Of course.
So at that time, success would have been the next role and the next, financial increment. But for me now, if I think about what success is, it's being able to choose what I do each day, choose the things I work on, and combine so many of my interests and exercise so much of my expertise in different areas and bring that together to help people and enable myself to be happier. I also have always wanted to write. I've had, writing a book on my bucket list for a long time, and I've been able to achieve that dream, and I'm continuing to pursue that, which is great. Fantastic. And I love to travel. And so, I'm able to schedule lots of time for travel in my life, because what I've done is I've shaped my life into what I call 633. So I have a generate like an earning time, which are sort of roughly around 6 months a year when I do interim exec roles in innovation, transformation, change, etc.
Yeah.
And then 3 months of the year I create. So that's when I write. I'm writing, or I'm doing a course or a podcast, etc. And then 3 months of the year are traveling, which is great. Yeah. And then through the year I talk about that as participate. So I run communities for people looking to start a portfolio career or looking for their next role, or also mentoring experts to convert their knowledge into books. So, that works really well for me. I mean, other people will have their own version of what their 633 is and what success looks like. But I think it really is important to think about what is it that will make you just really energized and very content with your life. And the key thing I talk about is create a life that feels good to you rather than a life that looks good to others. Yeah, and that's really, if I think about sort of the before and after of my life, I now have a life that I'm very, very content with. I've got a great combination. I still love working in corporate arenas, because I love the new ideas, I love all the people. I love being able to write and be able to create things, and I love being able to help people and coach and mentor. So, I've got it all. Plus, I find time for exercise, for family, friends, and all the things I want to do. So, it's pretty good.
Oh, that's fantastic. And obviously we'll put this video out for people to watch on YouTube and LinkedIn. But how do people contact you, Penelope? What's the best way for them to learn more about a portfolio career?
Yeah, so I'm pretty active on LinkedIn. Also, my website has information there about my courses and ways I can help. And then I'm also very interested just to chat with people if they're in the exploratory phase.
Okay, fantastic. Well, thank you so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate it.